Aloha, everyone. Well, we're one step closer to knowing what's going to happen to Maui's Bill 9, which would phase out short-term rentals that have legally been operating in apartment zoning on Maui for decades. Here's what one council member had to say about this bill.
But I've been in this business over 26 years, and honestly, this is one of the worst bills I've ever seen.
Now, if Bill 9 is passed in its original form, it would phase out roughly half of Maui's legal short-term rentals. And this past Monday, the Maui County Council met for the first of 2 readings of that bill. In this video, I'm going to show you how the votes came in, and then I'll show you what each of the 8 remaining council members had to say about their justification for the way they voted. So let's start by taking a look at the actual vote from the County Council meeting.
Roll call.
Vice Chair Sugimura.
No.
Councilmember Paltin.
H-I. Yes. H-yes.
Yes, otherwise we were going to say you voted Hawaii.
Councilmember Johnson.
Yes.
Councilmember Rawlins-Fernandez.
I, Okina A.E.
Councilmember Cook.
No.
Councilmember U'u Hodgins.
Aye.
Councilmember Sinenci.
Aye.
And Council Chair Lee.
No.
Chair, you have 5 ayes, 3 noes. Motion carries.
There you have it. The bill advances the first of 2 different readings by a vote of 5-3. Now, it's important to know that this does not mean that the bill has officially passed yet. That won't be decided until the second reading of the bill, where there'll be a final vote. That meeting is already scheduled for December 15th. So while it looks like we know the direction that this is heading, technically anything could still happen. Now, I have received a lot of questions from people who are trying to plan vacations to Maui that are concerned that their reservations might be canceled because of Bill 9. So it's so important that everyone knows that while Bill 9 in its current form would eliminate all the short-term rentals in apartment zoning, that wouldn't happen for another 3 to 5 years. And furthermore, short-term rentals that are currently operating in hotel/resort zoning would not be impacted at all. So travelers really don't have anything to worry about for at least a few years, regardless of how this turns out. Now, in one of my previous videos about Bill 9, I talked about a list that was created by the Maui County Council called Exhibit 2. Exhibit 2 is a list of the apartment zone condos that the county thinks should be rezoned to hotel/resort zoning so that those properties can continue to operate as short-term rentals. The council says that they still intend to follow through on the Exhibit 2 upzoning, but it is not included in Bill 9. The county's attorneys advise that including Exhibit 2 would weaken their ability to defend Bill 9 in the lawsuits that will certainly be brought against the county by property owners. So at this point, the Exhibit 2 upzoning appears to be likely, but it is not guaranteed. Okay, at the beginning of this video, I showed a clip of one of the council members saying that this is the worst bill that she has ever seen. That clip was taken from Monday's meeting right before the vote, when all 8 of the council members presented their personal justification for their yes or no votes. So next, I'd like to show you that portion of the meeting to give you some additional insight into the council members' mindsets. And it did get kind of heated. One council member actually cursed the tourism economy, and another goes on a rant about how building desalination plants to provide more water for affordable housing is against her beliefs. Now, some of the members' speeches did get kind of long, so I'll provide timestamps in the description in case you want to skip ahead to the next council member. You'll definitely want to see the final council member's comments if you want a better understanding of why she thinks it's the worst bill that she's ever seen. Let's take a look.
Okay. So I am not going to be supporting the bill. And one of the things that I wanted to ensure was to see the work of the TIG be included in the bill as Member Cook tried to amendment, and it did not pass. I'm missing I'm missing Councilmember Kama as we're stuck on 4-4 votes. That's so unfortunate. I hope that resolution happens for who's going to be sitting in the chair next to me. This council is crippled because of that, and I hope that the community gets to have all of us, take up issues and be able to move forward. That's number one. The other thing the reason why I'm voting against this is that I'm going to take words from testifiers, and they said, this bill will cripple the economy. When it does go into effect, which means soon, by 2028 and 2030, it's going to have a real property tax impact on the county, and it's yearly. I think it was like 60, according to what we received from the administration, the impact would be, finance said it's $61 million in real property tax per fiscal year. UHERO said there would be an additional $15 million from GET and TAT. And that's huge amounts every single year that of real property tax we will not be able to collect or may be impacted by this. And as we know also, GET is going away in 2030. So there's other implications of that will happen because of that. The long-term impact will be to services such as police, fire, the things that we need now for our healthy economy, that we've been relying on the short-term vacation rental taxes. It bothers me that there is, this is going to bring costly litigation. That's another thing testifiers said, which we could better use that funding to build housing, infrastructure, water, all the things that we need to run our county, or we can cut back services. So those are the kind of options. I also believe with the things we've been reading with our federal government and implementation of tariffs and how much Christmas gifts are costing us this year, that we are running into a recession or economic impacts, and that Trump, the state, the county, cannot really pay for. So for us to have a solid real property tax or our economy, which we rely on these short-term vacation rentals, to have it solid and not be impacted by this bill, I think is really important. But it is something that we will see. Thanks, Member Cook, for your amendment through the reports that we'll be receiving up to 2030, so we can see what the impacts are. We all support housing. We all support everything this bill is proposing to do, yes. But I believe that it was put together on false pretenses because of the impact that we saw reaction from the community of how important the TIG work was. But it is what it is. I can count the votes, and I look forward to doing everything we can to have a better plan, strengthen our economy, build housing, all the things that administration is proposing to do. Let's see it. Thanks.
Anybody else? Member Cook.
Thank you, Chair. I won't be voting yes on this. I'm supportive of the housing and the intention. And I'm not going to debate it, but my proposal was to try and maintain a major percentage of the tax revenue so that we could funnel that revenue into doing the housing and not have the negative impact. So, it is what it is. I wish that it wasn't going to be like, the problem, this isn't going to be like pulling a tooth and it's over. It's going to be like getting a drill for years. And that's my real concern, is that it's going to be, the litigation and all of that is just going to be hard on everybody. So I won't belabor this anymore. Thank you all.
Oh, okay, me then? All right,
Yes.
Well, thank you for yielding. Thank you, members. I want to thank everybody's work on this, and I appreciate the testifiers coming out and speaking. I'll just start with some of the things I want to mention. First, we talk about the economy. I mean, it sounds like that's a lot of the discussion going on right now. $1.7 billion was spent from our tourism industry last year, $1.7 billion with a B. That's a 6.7% increase from last year, October 2024 to now. People are coming and spending more money, $277 a day. Now, it does offset a decrease of 2.9% in arrivals. That is fact, but that is the industry that we have put our ducks in, the rising and falling of this bucking economy known as tourism. I think that our community is smart, adaptable, and resilient, and we can come up with a better plan than what we have on the table with tourism. I look forward to coming up with a diversity, economic diversity plan. I want to push for that. I don't want to operate from a position of scarcity. And I think we do have the funds to cover the things that we want to get built. I think that if you look at what the community has been doing up until now, for example, here on Lanai, we limited our short-term rentals by permits. We put a cap on them, and as well as other places in our communities that put caps on them. We know that folks are taking our old plantation homes, the place that was built for working class folks, the condos that were built back in the day, and they've been turning them into profit making, units that are not servicing our community. So that's why I'm going to support this. I think that it's been a long time coming, and we are smart and we can pivot from this. So that's why I'm rising in full support. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Member Paltin.
Thank you, Chair, for my first opportunity of possibly two or not. The introduction of the World Wide Web was in 1989. The rise of the internet was like mid-90s. I would say most people maybe got their own computers late 90s, early 2000s, possibly, which is, like 20-something years ago. The Airbnb platform was created in like 2008-ish about, and really rose to popularity here on Maui around maybe 2014, 2016. So this history of people saying that they've always had the right to do short-term rental, beyond that time frame was really different. Like you had to use a travel agent and things like that. And so many of us that lived here pre-2000, early 2000s, pre-2008, before the existence of the World Wide Web and whatnot, tourism looked much different in both South and West Maui. And a lot of the testifiers we heard from today act as though they don't remember that time period. Like Ms. Smythe was saying, I remember when Honoko'ai was like filled with local people, and people had places to live, and then they went to work, and that's how it worked. I think it was a mistake, the way that the Minatoya opinion was codified, because Mr. Minatoya said that those units that had previously been used as short-term rentals could continue on. And then I believe it was the planning department of that time that said, oh, that's too hard to keep track of. Let's let the whole entire building do short-term rentals. And then word of mouth came around, like, why are you renting it to a family for $200 a month, $500 a month, when you can make $200 a night, $500 a night? And then living in West Maui at that time, we seen an exodus of families who said that their owners were turning into short-term rental. And at that time, former council member BISA was working on the short-term rental housing legislation. And so, in the community, the chatter was, how are they doing it? Do they have permits? And they're like, no, the landlord doesn't have a permit. They're just saying they can do it. And so the thought at that time was like, these are all illegal. But, like many things and many of the testifiers we heard today, not a lot of people know accurate details of things. And a lot of people just say things they think to be true. So to all the people that are saying it won't work, it worked. I was there, I lived there, like Miss Smythe, like Jordan, like we remember it. And whatever you say cannot change what we live through. And to all the people that are saying that local people can't afford these, and yet they live here and own many, are they then calling themselves not local because they own them? And to the folks that are saying, well, what did we do with all that money? Up until like last month, 2 months ago, last month, our affordability period for a single family home was 10 years. Now it's 15 years. So it doesn't matter. Like say we made 500,000 affordable homes. In 15 years, they'll be market rate. If 15 years ago, we made 100,000 affordable homes, 5 years ago, the affordability period ran out. So it's a zero-sum game to play that. Why aren't you building housing until you fix the holes in the bucket? Like this workbook has right here. There'll never be enough affordable homes. And what we seen was what they're calling these old homes only steadily increase in value. And to the point where people can't keep up, wages can't keep up. And so I'm gonna support this bill because pre-COVID, pre-fire, when it was the height of tourism, when all the short-term rentals in West Maui were filled up with vacationers, when the hotels were filled up, our quality of life was horrendous. You couldn't go to the supermarket. You couldn't go out to eat. You couldn't go to your favorite beach and find parking past like 8 o'clock in the morning. And so really, I feel this is like balance, following our general plan. It's not taking away every single legal short-term rental. I feel committed to pass the H3, H4 legislation. I feel committed to those TIG parcels to balance it out. And I support this legislation because, Pu'ukoli Village, Mauka, it's a 201G project. Who even remembers 201G? That never got built. Pulelehua, all its entitlements. There's people on this council that don't support it. Kanapali 2020 was supposed to be built in 2020. We're trying, but it's not working. This isn't the only solution. Programs will have to be developed, but we need housing in all shapes and sizes and income levels. We need housing for the empty nesters who can't maintain a big yard to be able to go to, whether it's affordable or not. We have all ranges of income that people have in Maui County. We have all ranges of locals. It's not one size fits all. And so I'm supporting this bill to try and bring back our neighborhoods, bring back our families, bring back housing for, our elderly empty nesters who do have a solid income or a big retirement. Maybe they sell their house to an up and coming family and then they have that revenue to buy a house, a unit, that they don't need to cut grass in the yard or do their own repairs. So to me, it's about balance and right-sizing the tourism industry, prioritizing our people over profit, because as we see with how short-term rentals have gone since the introduction of the World Wide Web, the introduction of Airbnb, too much will never be enough for them. Even when it was too much, there was no efforts to limit. So if too much is never enough, then just enough should be more than enough. Thank you.
Anyone else? Member Rawlins-Fernandez.
Mahalo, Chair. So for the record, the posted committee report did not state that the recommendation from the committee was a 4-4 split or even a 5-4 split. Committee report posted on the agenda, your committee voted 6-3 to recommend passage of Bill 9 CD1 2025 on first reading. Vice Chair U'u Hodgin and Member Johnson, Lee, Paltin, Rawlins-Fernandez, and Sinenci voting aye. Committee Chair Kama, Members Cook and Sugimura voted no. The difference from opponents and proponents of Bill 9 crystallized their positions today. Some people see Maui as a business, and some people see Maui as our home. Unlike the generational families and residents that have built community here, many STR owners we heard from are free from experiencing the challenge of weighing the loss of family and friends being priced out of a system that is designed to price them out. As was stated in testimony, they have workers. That's a different relationship. As one testifier, Ms. Ness stated, just because some people have invested in the tourist economy does not mean that this community is obliged to maintain such an extractive economy. I added extractive, sorry. Especially when the very nature of that economy is extractive and is causing generational harm to our full population. Unchecked extractive capitalism is an Ouroboros. It's a snake that'll eat itself if not stopped. Unchecked capitalism is what caused the fire in Maui that led to the loss of lives and homes. We heard suggestions of desal, destruction of our environment for profit for the few at the expense of many. Desal is not the direction that our kupuna advised us to go. Our kupuna taught us to live within our means. And if the water that we currently have is insufficient, we don't build desal plants that create far more consequences than we are ready to deal with as a society right now. Those extractors that sold Hawaii as a brand of aloha and happy natives dancing, created an overdependence on tourism and has made Maui County economically vulnerable. Interest rates plummeted during COVID and spiked after that. Residents, are smarter than that to take on a mortgage that is overly inflated and has too high of an interest rate. For folks that are wondering, why aren't residents buying up these fire sale units? The prices of these units have only started to correct to pre-fire levels, not even pre-pandemic levels. Even as we build more housing, the conversion from residential use to tourism use couldn't compete with the industry taking our housing inventory. Technology can and does make things easier, but sometimes easier needs to come with necessary protections. Online platforms made it easier to book as folks travel, but with that ease came the appetite to consume and profit. And I personally saw a proliferation of advertisements to train people on making passive income by consuming our housing inventory here. Housing is a common good, one that needs to be actively protected, like with deed restriction proposed to cap resale prices, to make properties owner-occupied or long-term rental in perpetuity. And what Bill 9 does, which is reclaim the housing that was lost to that consumption. I unashamedly stand with our community members that have taken on the kuleana of protecting our aina and the wealth of knowing who our community are for generations. Mahalo, Chair.
Anybody else? Member Sinenci.
Mahalo, Chair, for my opportunity. Chair, I will be upholding my vote from committee for all the reasons that I did state then. I'll also entertain a clean bill as recommended by our legal team to maintain Bill 9's legal standing. However, with my vote in support also comes with a commitment that I will support some forthcoming legislation, companion legislation that will continue short-term uses in new zoning areas. From today's testimony, there was a few people, I think they thought that we were banning all short-term rentals, but we're just banning those in, or addressing those in apartment 1 and apartment 2 zones, which is after the TIG recommendations would be about 13% of the total. We still have over 23,000 short-term rentals on the island. And so when they're talking about a economic crash, I mean, we still have those for revenues. And with the TIG recommendations, those shortfalls would be cut in half should those companion bills come forth. Bill 9 passes, it doesn't take effect for another 5 years. Condo owners can continue to rent their short-term rentals for another 5 years. If they didn't make it on the Exhibit 2 list as proposed, there's plenty of time for them to apply for a zoning change should their property meet the certain criteria. Chair, Bill 9 is, some people may call it extreme, but we want to look at the context of which this bill is here before us. An entire town burnt down. We have over 700,000 of our native population, which is now the diaspora, the Hawaii Pa Mau Mau that lives on the continent now. And is one of my, when our people move to the continent, it's just not the same. And for me as a councilman, I want to do everything possible to keep them here on the island, especially their kids. When Hawaiian and local people see the ocean and the mountains, we don't just think about how we can make money off of them and profit. We think about taking our families and our children and grandchildren to the beach and to commune with the nature around us. When we think of a house or an apartment, we think of raising our families or taking care of our kupuna, and not just about how we can buy as many as we can in order to make money. These are the things. We don't have nowhere else to go. However, a lot of us have already left. And so those are some of the reasons, Chair, that I'm supportive of Bill 9 today. Thank you.
Member U'u Hodgin.
Thank you, Chair. I'll be supporting this as well today. I will caution that I don't think this is going to be the panacea for a housing crisis, because it is indeed a crisis. I do hope that this is one tool in the tool belt, and we can continue to work on all the other tools necessary to fix this crisis. I'm going to work hard with the other council members to ensure that the TIG's recommendation is implemented so that we are not making a decision that will cost us too much of our tax revenue I don't disagree with Member Sugimura that we most likely will have to tighten our belt. But I don't disagree with you either, Member Sinenci, that this is the only place people call home. There is no going back. This is it. I was telling you earlier, I want to go home, decorate for Christmas. I want that for everybody. So I'll be supporting that for today. Thank you. And I'm going to work with you folks and make sure that the TIG report is done. And so, as I bet you on the floor the other day, so, you know, we all got to work
I
together.
hope you have the cash with you.
Yeah. Oh my God. I don't know how much we bet, but, you know, I hope it's just for pride and hugs. Okay, thanks.
I'm not one for hugs. You guys take care of all the emotional stuff. I'm the one that pays the bills. Okay. I honestly, now, don't take this personally because you're not legislators, but I've been in this business over 26 years. And honestly, this is one of the worst bills I've ever seen. Structurally, and the way it has been handled in a sort of backwards fashion. In other words, you come up with the bill and then you rationalize it later, you justify it later as you go along. And this has been the journey. And to me, this process has contributed to making this community very divisive. Very divisive. You know, we have a lot of people that are angry and are frustrated, and it's really hard to be good at problem solving when you're angry and you're not focused on the problem, because you got to separate the problem from your emotions about a lot of things, your personal life, what's happened in the past, history, so forth. Just got to focus on the problem itself. So hopefully we can fix this going forward, and with more cooperation and fair-mindedness, I'm hoping that there's some way we can find common ground or some kind of common purpose. So we're not constantly fighting, because there are good answers out there, but sometimes you miss those answers when you're not focusing on the thing and you're focusing on a person. And so I'm very concerned that the money we're going to lose is huge. It's not a one-time loss. It's every year. So if it's 60 plus 75 to 80 million dollars, let's say, with all the different taxes, that's per year. You know, in 10 years or so, that's close to $1 billion. So along with eliminating more visitors, you have to figure out, how do we replace the money that they used to provide? How do we deal with programs that we no longer can afford? And how do we deal with the jobs that are going to be lost? Those are the things that I generally focus on. And I'm hoping that somebody is going to help. In fact, everybody. If we all put our minds and, you know, our energy together, we can figure this out. But we can't do this when we're fighting. So I'm hoping the future holds a more positive path for all of us. And I honestly hope it works, because I don't know why people keep mentioning how people voted before. I voted yes with reservations because I had a lot of concerns. I think I mentioned to several people that what I wish would have happened is we would take the monies from the STR taxes and so forth and designate them first to take care of West Maui's permanent affordable housing, brand new, permanent, decent, dignified housing, not cracker box houses that were built in the 60s. I'm talking about decent housing that will last another 50 to 90 years. That's what I'm talking about. That's a solution. course, that went right in the rubbish can. And then, because along with that, I was also thinking we should phase out STRs in the proper way. And I talked about attrition over time. That would give us lots of time to figure out how to get the rest of the money from other sources and how to generate different jobs. So those are the things that I was looking at. But apparently, not too many people were looking in that direction. So this is the way things work around here. We don't always get our way, but we have to come back to the center where everybody is and try again, work at coming up with better solutions that help the most people. We can't ever help everybody, but we can try and help the most people. So I'll be voting no.
Okay, so that's it for the video. This was a long one, so I really appreciate you making it all the way to the end. If you appreciate the information, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe for future updates, and share the video with anyone you know who would be affected by Bill 9. I hope to see you on the next one. Aloha.